Hey, World Entertainment, and Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 has dropped, or at least the first episode. It does seem to be that they are releasing it weekly, like they did with the first season, which is good, because it means we have something interesting other than Starshit Academy, because we've 2 episodes of that left. But thankfully, there's something to cleanse the palate now, because the first episode of this was great. I loved it. I'm sure there'll be people who don't enjoy it and think, oh, we don't get enough of this and enough of that, and there's too much of this and not enough of that, and blah, blah, blah. I thought it was great, and they did not hold back on showing beasties and creepy crawlies and stuff like that in this episode. So, I will try and be as spoiler-free as possible, but it does pick up bang on where it left off in Season 1 with Kong coming up on Skull Island. So, it literally opens up when he arrives to the Monarch outpost. Well, actually, the Monarch is there, but it appears to be an Apex complex. But Kong is there. The island is in a frenzy. And that's what you find out, is that the island is in a frenzy. And it's due to, now we don't know until later in the episode, but it's due to Titan X. Now, what is Titan X? We're getting the explanation about him, or her, whatever it is, through the past scenes where we get young Lee Shaw and stuff, where it's him, Keiko, and Bill, who are in, I believe the date was 1957, and are in somewhere in Chile, or Chile, for everyone else who likes to pronounce it that way. And they go to this village place. It's underwater, and they've heard the stories about a monster there. And there's this, they go into like a bar, and there's actually a fossil. Do you know the fossil of what seems to be like an old style of crab? The weird shell thing. If I can get an image, and there'll probably be an image in here of the creature anyway. But it reminds me, and they do point out that it looks like one of those old crab fossils. But it's a part of the big thing, X. So Titan X, it turns out, now we don't see him in this moment in like the flashbacks, but we're told that he is basically a god to this small fishing town, to the men in that town. It looks like they're possibly doing sacrifices to it, but every year, they do say it in a scene. I can't remember whether she said every month or every year. I think it's every year that this thing arrives, and they, by the looks of it, they do some sort of sacrifice offering to it, and they think it blesses their fishing for the year. So Titan X is a god to this small town in our village in Chile. So that's our explanation as to what, at least what they think this is and what its operation is in terms of how many times it appears and stuff like that. But he's down in that world between worlds where Shaw, older Shaw, now is stuck. But he's under, like, that's the portal that was opened is waking that thing up to Skull Island. So by the end, he does get released and comes out and runs off of Skull Island immediately. He doesn't jump onto Skull Island and fight Kong. He gets there and immediately takes off out into the water. Kong does try and get him, but... And there is a fair bit of Kong in here. No Godzilla in the first episode, but we do get Kong. Because we're on Skull Island, you do see a lot of different things. You see the flying bird things that rip the dude apart in Skull Island. There's a weird kind of mutated rat type thing. There's the big crab yolks. But then we get introduced to this new one. And the only way I can call the thing is the electro bat. And the reason I call it that is it's this weird bat type thing that seems to be able to fire electricity out of its mouth. And it was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting one. But yeah, Kong is here. Now, Kong is definitely still younger than he is by the time we get to Godzilla versus Kong, because he doesn't have the beard yet, and he's still more in the size that he was, maybe slightly bigger than he was in Skull Island. But he's definitely a younger version So he's definitely not the version that comes face to face with Godzilla in Godzilla versus Kong. So they get off the island and they're onto this ship. The ship, by the way, looks cool. It's actually a Monarch outpost. It's either outpost 8 or 18. It's one of those two. But they've got Keiko, who obviously still thinks, or at least thought it was still like in the 50s. And obviously it's not. 2 years have passed since they went down where they found Keiko. So that means it's 2017. So not that much time seems to be passed by the time they go back down to try and get Shaw. So, and they don't exactly go down, they send the thing down. But that's by the end of the episode. So Shaw, older Shaw, we don't see too much of him. In the first episode, we kind of get glimpses of him. Kind of, he sees the them leaving. Then we see him kind of wandering around with all these weird little firefly things around him, and then he comes across that. It's like a cross between a boar and a moose type thing that someone shot. I think it was Keiko who shot it in the first season that has the arrow in it. And by the time we see him with that thing, they managed to have sent the thing back. Because don't forget, he might think an hour has passed, 3 days could have passed in our world. So it does look like maybe a day, maybe 2 days have passed in the main world, where it seems to be only a few hours have passed for him. So they're trying to go down there to get him. Keiko's trying to deal with the idea of being in the real world and seeing that Monarch has become what it's become. And the flashback stuff is really just young Shaw, Keiko, and Bill in this town where they're very much not welcome, and they almost get into a massive fight because Bill tries to take a photo of the dead thingy on the thing. And obviously, back in the modern day, Kate and May and Kentaro, I think is how you pronounce his name, and the father, they all go back to Skull Island to try and get Shaw. But they sneak off the boat because Monarch won't let them go back because the island is in a frenzy. But they're not sure. They think they did something to piss Kong off. And we are told Kong does let people be there as long as you don't take the piss. Like if you start screwing about with the island, he'll fight back. But as long as you don't, he's fine with you being there. So they think they've done something, or somebody's done something to piss Kong off. They don't realize that it's this thing. But well, Keiko is for the first time like seeing computer screens and stuff. They're showing her footage, like the security footage of Kong's, what they think is Kong's attack. He's actually trying to close the portal, but she sees one of those creature things run past, and she realizes what that means. Now she doesn't tell them, but she does tell them like, yeah, we gotta go and get them off the island quickly. But the storm around the island seems to be closing. So they didn't say it's fading, but it does seem to be closing. And they think that's also ramping up the activity on the island, that the island is in a frenzy. But it's not. It's because of Titan X. So there's a lot of shots of like Kong being proper pissed off with everybody, especially when they turn the thing back on to get shot out, and they do get him back out. And so that is basically the way it goes for the first episode. But it's just the character development already is interesting. Great stuff again in the past. When you go to young Shaw and Keiko and stuff and Bill, that stuff, even in the first season, that stuff was like some of the best stuff in the first season, and it's straight away, it's the same again here. It is some of the best stuff. And it really is crazy to see how well Wyatt Russell performs, just like his father does then later when you get him. So, you know what I mean? It's like you have two people playing the same person, actual father and son though, even though they're playing the same person. You'd think there would be, oh, I'll do it this way while he does it that. And no, they managed to nail it, which I think is great. There is actually, well, I suppose because I was watching it with headphones in, there was a jump scare. They try and do a few jump scares like the typical sparks explode out of nowhere. But there is one, obviously I won't spoil it, but it's not where you think, and it's not how you'd think. It just kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, that gets you, especially if you got like your TV loud or your headphones, because this is on Apple, so obviously I'm not watching it on Apple because I don't have Apple. So yeah, so they're trying to get Keiko readjusted. They went back for Shaw. May, who's the hacker, Carisi, whatever her name is, Clemens. She was offered the job from Apex, who she's told to get stuffed, which means there's clearly going to be more stuff there with Apex. And overall, first episode, I really enjoyed. The effects again were fantastic, you know. There's a couple of wonky bits here and there, but it's clear they kind of used volume, like when they're trying to walk past Kong. You can tell that's, like, Kong still looks great. It's just you can tell they're walking up on a volume screen just for that stuff. But other than that, like, all the other special effects are fantastic. So when you see it, you think this is a TV show, like, bloody brilliant with the effects. Marvel could really learn something here, you know. This is a TV show and it looks better with quality special effects than your $200, $300 plus $1 million movies. I should tell you something, but overall, it's off to a good start. It's off to a better start, in my opinion, than the first season. But next up, because Titan X immediately runs off the island into the water, obviously he's gonna piss Godzilla off. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next episode we start seeing Godzilla being focused on. Overall though, once again, thought it was a great episode. So if you've seen it, let me know what you guys think of it. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I shall catch you in the next one.